What do you do with your investment around leadership? Do you centralise it? Do you decentralise it? Where do the decisions get made? Where do the dollars get placed in terms of the investments that you make? And then we've got the opportunity to be able to determine how we actually lead this with our organisation. So what we want to do today is share the insights of an expert panel. We're very appreciative of the opportunity for each of our panel members to be able to share their insights, and also to enable you to be able to share the implications of the topics that we actually cover.
So in terms, Mark, of the investment, or our biggest investment around leadership development, we've been really focused on coaching skills for our senior leaders. And I know I'm going to talk about strategy in a minute, but the reason we really wanted to focus on that key area is our strategy, our global strategy, is around transforming and accelerating the business. And a key component to that is really getting more from the core. And what we mean by that is not just more from our brands that we have, but more from our people, and really capitalising on their strengths in order to grow the business. So essentially the reason that we landed on coaching as the key focus for the next 12 months is it's really important that coaching really builds the business into a high performing business and really empowers our people to really push themselves further in terms of accountability and achievement. I'd like to mention as well, in addition to the connection to the strategy, there's a really important connection for coaching skills to our leadership framework. So it's not just about the what, it's really about the how. And we introduced a new leadership framework probably about 5 years ago now. And there's a really great level of maturity in our organisation in terms of understanding that framework and that model. Coaching is a fundamental aspect to the competencies within that model, right? So we have competencies such as collaborating with others, empowering teams, developing talent, but also, really addressing some of those difficult issues. So there was a really clear connection from coaching to our leadership model as well.
What about stakeholders with conflicting priorities, Glenn? I mean, how do you go navigating through the situation where you've got a couple of different outcomes that are being sought by stakeholders that are going to create conflict within the broader team?
It almost comes back into how competitive a landscape that organisation is. And why I say that is it really comes into the priority now will not necessarily be the priority into the future if we don't invest in certain elements. And I think what we've seen across the last 6 to 12 months with the Great Resignation is that if we don't invest in our people now, the byproduct of that will be they'll seek out the organisations where they can really gain some of those elements as well. And calling out as OD leaders and leaders across the HR space is really around, we understand that the business is extremely busy and everyone is continually asked to execute more and more and more, often with the same or less, highlighting and really thinking about what does our intervention look like and what are we actually trying to do and how do I break it down even more simply than I already have. And I think that's where asking for that advocacy and asking for feedback across the different interventions that you're looking to put in place.
And tell me a bit about your experience with leadership roadmaps and what your thoughts are. Do you have a leadership roadmap as you move into the next year or the next period? And why is it important for us to have a bit of clarity around what that roadmap or that journey is going to look like?
Yeah, absolutely. My answer to that is yes. What that roadmap looks like is different, right, in every context and organisation, but building the people capability is absolutely crucial to delivering on company strategy. And if we want as a group to move beyond singular interventions, building capability usually requires programs of work. Some of those programs of work are highly customised, especially as we get up into senior leadership. But even if we're thinking about connecting frontline leadership in a way that it creates senior leaders and builds leaders in the organisation, the programs of work that we're thinking about or need to be thinking about are usually run over periods of time rather than single interventions. They may take months, weeks, or maybe even years to fulfill. So the short answer is yes, have a roadmap. The longer answer is have a roadmap that works in cadence and rhythm to the business. I can't stress enough that for the roadmap itself to succeed, it needs to be in step and balance the need of what the business has, both the desire to achieve and also the capacity to take on.